Move away from the kid, right now, and do not pretend you are helping him." The man's voice came out low and cold, the kind that makes a room feel smaller. The diner went still as a black waitress stood between a lost Korean boy and a stranger, who looked too calm to be concerned. The boy's small hand was wrapped around the waitress's apron like it was the only safe thing left in the world. Outside, rain slid down the window in thin lines, turning streetlights into blurred halos. Inside, the air smelled of hot oil, coffee, and fear. Her name was Nia Grant, and she had learned to read danger without staring at it. Nia was not the type people noticed on purpose. She moved fast, kept her head down, and did her job with the steady rhythm of someone who couldn't afford mistakes. Her uniform was plain, her shoes worn, her smile practiced. But behind that calm face was a mind trained by hard years. She had grown up watching people take what they wanted, watching others stay quiet to survive. She promised herself she would never be the kind of person who looked away when someone small needed help. That promise was the reason she was in trouble now. The boy had wandered into the diner just before closing. Soaked from rain, his cheeks red from cold. He could not have been older than 7. He stood near the entrance with wide eyes, the kind that hold panic even when the mouth is silent. His hair clung to his forehead. His shoes squeaked on the tile. He said a few words in Korean, then stopped when no one understood. Cliffsmers glanced and turned back to their food. The manager frowned like the boy was a problem, not a child. A couple at the counter whispered, guessing he was lost, then deciding it was not their issue. Nia saw him and felt something tighten inside her chest. She knelt to his level, careful not to crowd him, and offered a napkin and a warm cup of water. She spoke slowly, gentle, using simple words and soft gestures. The boy's hands trembled as he took the cup. His eyes stayed locked on the door, waiting for someone who was not coming. Nia asked if he knew his name. He hesitated, then whispered, "It Min-chun." She asked if he had a phone number. He shook his head. Nia knew what fear looked like. This was not just lost. This was chased. She guided Min-jun to a booth where she could watch both the door and the street. She brought him a small plate of bread and soup, the kind the kitchen made for staff when no one was looking. The steam rose like comfort. Min-jun didn't eat at first. He just held the spoon, staring at the surface like he was afraid it would vanish. Then the door opened and the stranger walked in. He was clean, dry, and calm in a way that didn't match the weather. His jacket looked expensive. His hair was neat. His gaze swept the diner once and landed on Min-jun, like a hand closing around something owned. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Nia stood between them before she fully realized. She had moved. The man said Min-jun was with him. He said the boy wandered off and caused worry. He said he would take him home. Min-jun's hand tightened around Nia's apron so hard the fabric pulled. Nia didn't raise her voice. She didn't accuse. She didn't create a scene. She simply asked one question, steady and firm. She asked the man to say the boy's name. The man paused for a fraction of a second. Not long. Just long enough. That fraction changed everything. Nia's heart stayed calm on the outside, but inside her mind began moving fast. She had seen that pause before. She had seen it when people lied with confidence, when they expected others to surrender because it was easier. Nia told the man she would call the police to verify. The man's smile thinned. His eyes hardened. He told her she was making a mistake. Nia put her hand on the table, close to Min-jun, not touching him, but letting him know she was still there. She asked the manager to call the police. The manager hesitated, annoyed, uncertain. The man stepped closer, lowering his voice, turning the pressure into something private and threatening without saying anything openly dangerous. Nia felt the weight of it, the warning wrapped in calm. Then, she noticed something else. A car outside that had been parked too long, engine running. A second person in the driver's seat, watching the door. Another man across the street, pretending to check his phone, eyes lifting at timed intervals. This was not one stranger. This was a network. Nia's stomach tightened. She made a choice anyway. She took Min-jun's hand and guided him toward the back of the diner, toward the staff hallway that led to the kitchen and the storage exit. She moved like she was simply doing her job, like she was taking out trash or checking supplies. She whispered to Min-jun to stay close and not look back. Min followed like a child who already knew how to be quiet. In the kitchen, the cook looked up, startled. Nia didn't explain everything. She didn't have time. She said one sentence that made the cook's face change. Lost child. Not safe. Call for help. Cliff grabbed a phone. Nia led Minji into the storage exit, pushing it open into a narrow alley lit by a single buzzing light. Rain smelled like wet concrete and rust. Minjin shivered. Nia pulled her own jacket off and wrapped it around his shoulders. They moved fast, staying close to walls, slipping past dumpsters and puddles. Nia didn't know exactly where she was going, only that she needed distance and witnesses. She headed toward the nearest open place she could think of. A late-night grocery store with bright lights and cameras. Halfway there, a car rolled slowly at the end of the alley. Nia stopped. She kept her body between Minjin and the street. She looked for another path. A delivery truck idled nearby. A driver stood outside smoking under an awning, bored and half asleep. Nia made eye contact with him and spoke clearly, loud enough to be heard, calm enough not to sound frantic. She said a child was lost and someone was trying to take him. The driver's posture changed. He tossed the cigarette and stepped closer. Now was the first crack in the network's control. Two men appeared near the alley entrance, walking like they belonged there, hands in pockets, faces blank. Nia felt fear rise, but she did not let it show. She held Minjin's hand firmly. She spoke a line that would stay with her forever. When a child is scared, the world owes them courage. The driver pulled out his phone and started recording. A woman, exiting the grocery store, paused and joined him, her eyes sharp, her jaw set. More people looked over. More people noticed. The men slowed. They were used to silence. They were used to people stepping aside. Witnesses made them cautious. Cameras made them smaller. Nia guided Minjin into the store's bright light. The click called security. Someone called the police again. Minjin began to cry quietly. Not loud, not dramatic, just the release of a child who had been holding terror inside too long. Nia knelt and told him he was safe, even if she wasn't fully sure yet. Minutes later, officers arrived. The men outside were gone, dissolving back into the city like smoke. The police took Minjin's information, then contacted a Korean community center listed on a small card found in his pocket. A volunteer arrived quickly, breathless, eyes wet with worry. Minjin ran to her and clung to her coat like he might never let go. Nia watched it happen and felt her knees almost give out from relief. But the story did not end there, because the network that had come for Minjin did not forget faces. They did not forgive interference. To them, Nia was not a waitress anymore. She was an obstacle, a veritable, a person who had disrupted a carefully controlled world with one stubborn act of decency. In the days that followed, Nia noticed the same car twice. She saw a man across the street pretending to text. She received a blank call late at night, silence on the line. Breathing so soft it could have been imagined. Fear tried to move into her life like a tenant who wouldn't leave. Nia responded the way she always had, with quiet strategy. She reported everything. She accepted help. The community center connected her with advocates who understood trafficking risks. The store's camera footage was shared. The delivery driver's recording spread. Public attention became a shield. And then, something unexpected happened. Minjin's family came forward through official channels. His father had been searching, frantic, ashamed, terrified. They had been visiting from Korea. Minjin had slipped away in a crowded market. The network had noticed a vulnerable child and moved quickly, counting on confusion and fear to make the world look away. But the world had not looked away. Nia met Minjin again, this time in a bright community hall filled with warm food and safer faces. Minjin hugged her with both arms, small and fierce. His father bowed deeply, tears in his eyes, gratitude heavy in his posture. He held out a small gift, not expensive, but meaningful, a token of thanks that carried more weight than money. Nia didn't need the gift. She needed the truth of the moment. She said one line, simple and steady. I did not save him because I am brave. I saved him because he is a child. Weeks later, authorities announced arrests connected to a criminal ring operating across borders. Nia's name was not used publicly, but her actions had set a chain in motion. Witnesses mattered. Reports mattered. One person refusing to look away mattered. On a night when the rain returned, Nia stood outside her diner and watched the street shimmer on wet pavement. She felt tired. She felt afraid in the quiet moments. But she also felt something else. Pride. Because silence can be a weapon used against the weak. But it can also be a strength, used to stand firm when noise tries to bully the truth. And sometimes, The most powerful thing a person can do is this: see a child, step in, and refuse to move.